It is April 4th, 2023. This is Sensei John. So what I want to bring to you today is this message. You need to prepare. You need to prepare psychologically, physically, financially, in every way possible, emotionally, spiritually, socially. And the reason you need to prepare is because today is an historic event. And that historic event is Donald Trump went to Manhattan court. And it wasn't just Donald Trump went to court. It was the president or the former president was dragged into court for misdemeanors. They call it potential felonies, but regardless, it's ridiculous stuff. In fact, a judge said today, a different judge, Judge Napolitano from television, said that this particular thing is the least of his worries. He's got other things coming up weeks from now that are bigger, more important. But that's not even the critical thing. The critical thing is that we've got government that can get to anybody. And you should have known that when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. But if that didn't convince you, if Reagan getting shot didn't convince you, if all the puppet presidents didn't convince you, then certainly Donald Trump, billionaire, TV star, president, former president, presidential candidate again, being dragged into a court. And by the way, that's Manhattan. I've been in those courts or around that court area in those courts. And I can tell you, they are some of the most unpleasant surroundings. I bet you Donald Trump hasn't been in unpleasant surroundings like that, those courtrooms, in a very long time, if ever. I mean, it is bleak. But so the thing is this. This is all about preparation. My message to you today is prepare, prepare, prepare. The Great Reset is here. It's upon us. It's going to continue. And you essentially have a couple things that you need to do. Number one, you need to take care of yourself mentally, physically, financially, socially, in every way. If you're not working out, you need to start working out. Even myself, I am beginning to up my routine more, slowly but surely, upping my routine more. I haven't been off track, but now I'm going to be even more on track and getting better. I suggest you do the same. Mentally, are you meditating? Are you praying? And prayer, people confuse religion with spirituality. And I'm not going to get into that today, except that the book says pray without ceasing. And that means essentially set your intention on what it is you want. Set your mind on what you want. The Ninjutsu concept of Saiminjutsu, which is my specialty, hypnotism, we want to also program our mind. And hopefully you're doing that. Hopefully you're learning how to program your mind to focus on what you want, to get what you want, to move toward what it is that you want. It's really, really important. In fact, it's more important now than it's ever been. And I know a lot of people talk about guns. They talk about self-defense. They talk about, at the very least, martial arts. And I think, as I said previously in another video, I think that's great. I think you should do that. I think you should be training physically just to get stronger, have more endurance, more stamina. I think you should be training in martial arts. If you are into martial arts or willing to learn about martial arts, I think that's a great idea. But nonetheless, this idea of getting, I'm going to get guns and I'm going to protect myself. And if anybody comes to my door, what's happening now more than ever is you're attacked, you fight back either with your weapon or even their weapon, taking their weapon from you, and then you get charged in court for whatever you did with a weapon. So it's far better using our philosophy of just not getting in that situation to begin with, of using your intuition, developing your intuition to just know not to be where the danger is going to be. You know, like Kyle Rittenhouse made a very, very conscious decision to put himself in the middle of the action, the middle of the danger. 17 years old at the time, and ends up defending himself, but shooting people, and they dragged him to court, and he came, let's say pretty close to being in jeopardy, putting his life, putting his future in jeopardy just by being in a courthouse for anything. And he didn't have to do it. We can look at him today and we say, oh, he's a hero. He showed up. He did what he had to do. He had all this great restraint. And yes, all that's true. However, he did not have to be there. He didn't need to be there in the first place. And understand that, a lot of people out there will be saying, well, Ninjutsu is something from hundreds of years ago in Japan. It's not here now. Well, I would say to you that Antifa, anytime you see Antifa, you're seeing a modern version of ninja, in a sense. They are the provocateurs. They are the ones that are setting fires, causing commotions, injuring people, wearing masks that cover everything but their eyes. These are the modern version, but we are on the other side of that. We want to defend against it. We're not them. We're not trying to be them. We are defending against that. And one of the ways to defend against it is not to be where the danger is going to be. Someone, I believe it was a police officer, wrote in a book years ago, he said, nothing good happens after 12 midnight. And what he meant by that is that, like, if you're out, if it's 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3, 4 in the morning, unless you're going to work, there's probably no really good reason to be out there. That's when the problems happen most of the time, or a lot of the time. And so you want to make sure that you're not putting yourself in a position, in a situation where you're more likely to be victimized. And you certainly don't want to have a victim mentality, but you don't want to be victimized. You don't want to be putting yourself into that situation. So understand, the Great Reset is here. It's happening. If you haven't heard that term before, look it up. Start to understand what it is, because it's the whole issue of illness, we'll call it illness, okay, in broad terms, because we're on YouTube. It's not over. Okay, it's not over. They're just readjusting. I heard yesterday a lawyer explaining how they're now able to put mRNA, which is what the jabs contain, into food, into vegetables. And they've been able to do that for over 20 years, since the year 2000. So even if you're one of these people who avoided the jab, hopefully you are, it's not that simple anymore. They're coming at us from multiple directions. So you've got to really have your antenna up, and you've really got to be aware, and you've got to be planning, not just for the short term, but for the long term. I saw a post from someone that I know on a cruise ship, why can't every morning be like this, wake up on a cruise? Well, if you can do that, enjoy it while it lasts, but understand that this is not the norm, that going on cruise ships and, living the life is probably not the norm, and certainly not the norm if you want to protect your country and be a patriot. So the idea of the ninja, at least the way Stephen Hayes liked to explain it, was that the ninja were the patriots. The ninjas were fighting for freedom, were protecting their country and things like that. And so part of what we're doing, whether you're fighting through the law, whether you're fighting by not being where problems are, or whether you're defending someone else in some other way, whatever it is, we need to defend, we need to save our country, because our country is absolutely in jeopardy. You know, thousands of people are flooding this country from not only the southern border, but now the northern border, even with tons of snow. They've found Mexican peoples coming from the north into New York State, into the other states up there in the middle of the winter, in the middle of multiple feet of snow. Sure, not as many, but more than there have been in the past. And what I'm saying to you is that we are getting invaded. And I don't know that we're going to be able to stop it. But what you want to be able to do is you want to make sure that you're not the victim of it. But you got to think more than just yourself. You know, I hear some people talking about how, well, they're going to protect themselves and, you know, don't come to their house and, you know, and whatnot. But now is the time we're going to start thinking about communities. We're going to start, as far as a ninja group, it's clan, but that's a tight-knit group. But in the broader sense, it's communities. Whether you belong to a church, whether you belong to some other group, you want to be in community of people so that you can have other people to have your back in different ways, simple ways, whether it be something happened to you and you needed some help. You need to have some friends. You need to have people who know and like you enough that they're going to help you out. It's very important. And so prepare yourself mentally. I suggest starting with the physical, and that means getting your body in shape. You know, people talk about storing food. You know, we've got to store food. We've got to store food. Well, most people eat too much food as it is, and they think they need more food than they need. And even the food that they consume is not healthy food. It's junk food. It's processed food. Sometimes it's ultra processed food. And the problem with that is that it's not going to keep you alive, and it's actually going to cause you to become sick. So what you want to do is you want to start to wean yourself off all junk food, all ultra processed foods. Don't be compelled or addicted to any particular thing or substance, whether it's coffee, whether it's alcohol, whether it's something else. Don't allow yourself to have it. Learn to break that. One of the best ways to learn to break that is through fasting. Just conditioning your body and your mind. Mostly it's your mind. I mean, yes, it's your body, but certainly your mind. It's very, very important. You'll find that your mind trips you up the most. And so if you can go 12 hours, 15 hours, 18, 20, 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, without needing to consume something other than water, you will find that not only are you physically healthier, but you're mentally stronger. And pretty soon you find that you're just mentally stronger all the way around. And so I encourage you to begin to explore that. If you've never gone 3 or 4 hours without eating or consuming something other than water, challenge yourself to be able to do that. So if you ever needed to go a day or two without something, you'd be able to do it. You wouldn't freak out. So that's a beginning. And then, of course, just exercise, walking, whether it's jogging, walking, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, something more specific, whether it be in the gym where you're doing an actual gym workout, whether you're playing a sport, any of those things can be and are very good to do. because you need to get your body in shape. The fact of the matter is that the average person is in terrible shape. They can't run a mile. They can't, there are more people with type 2 diabetes, more people with various conditions, that any disruption in their medications, any disruption in their food intake, any disruption at all, and they're not just inconvenienced, they're literally putting their lives on the line. So you want to become stronger, harder to kill, so to speak. And one way to do that is get yourself off of the processed food, get yourself off of whatever it is you think you need to consume to function. Like a lot of people say, oh, I have to have my coffee or I can't function in the morning or the day. That's not true. And a person needs to overcome that. It's very important. And then just get stronger, physically stronger, mentally stronger. But that fasting is one of the fastest and most powerful ways that I've found to become stronger mentally. And it shows up physically as well. Now, understand that you should be praying, as I mentioned before, but part of that prayer is gratefulness and taking some time to be grateful and appreciative of the little things. You got a roof over your head, be grateful. You've got some food, be grateful. You've got sun, be grateful. You've got some rain, but not too much rain, be grateful. Whatever it is, the little things that you have shoes, be grateful. Car, be grateful. Not everybody has those things. And if you've got it, if you're not in pain, you should be grateful. There are people who function daily in pain. So if you're not one of them, if you're able to sleep at night, if you're able to function during the day, you should be grateful and you should be mindful of that, appreciative of that. It's very, very important. So Donald Trump was arraigned today, and that's not the end, it's the beginning. And what you're seeing is this downward spiral continue. On the news today, there was a big memorial, so to speak, for a transgender man/woman who passed away, and they put a multi-minute piece on the news to describe this person, their commitment and their contribution to society and blah, blah, blah. And what I'm telling you is that this would never have happened before. This is part of the psychological operation. This channel, what I'm doing here is I'm bringing to the attention of you and to other people, and hopefully you're going to help me to spread the word, that we are under psychological attack. And part of that psychological attack is lawfare, what they call lawfare, which is what Donald Trump is under right now, and other types of psychological warfare. It's not going to end, it's going to increase, and you've got to get familiar with it and understand that even if you know this, and I know many of you will understand it and know about it, about 30% of the population does not get it and will never get it. And then there's probably another 30%, 40%, 50% who get it, sort of get it, but they don't get it to the level where they actually change their behavior. And then there's the remaining, 5 or 10% who actually do get it and actually get it to the level where behavior is being changed. We're actually preparing, where you're saying no to certain things. For example, during 2020, I ended up on purpose getting kicked out of dozens of establishments, everything from the DMV to the bookstores to everything out there that you could get kicked out, representation of every different business or store, whatnot. Even Apple kicked me out. Of course, I wrote to them at the top level. The point is that that's the level of tyranny. All they have to do is flip the switch and say, hey, you're not allowed. You're bad. You're part of the problem. And boom. Yes, it would have been very easy, extremely easy for me to blend in and just go along to get along. That would have been, you'd think, oh, ninja, you should just blend in. Well, sometimes if that's the goal, then yes. But in this particular case, in my particular case, my goal was to disrupt the thinking and the behaviors. Did it help? Yes and no. Remember that 30%, about 30%, 20, 30% of the population will not change. They are so mind controlled that you will not break their mind control. They will just continue to be blinded. They will continue to have the wool pulled over their eyes, so to speak. They will just continue to live in denial or in a fantasy land. There's nothing that you and I can do about that. However, by speaking out, by disrupting when necessary and when appropriate, we can stop the hypnosis from going deeper. Okay. We can stop what they call the mass formation, the mass hypnosis from deepening. Because we know when we're hypnotizing someone, we can get them to go deeper and deeper and deeper. But if they're disrupted, if the hypnosis is disrupted, then it will stop the deepening. They'll only be able to get so far. So we want to keep disrupting when appropriate. And right now is kind of the calm before the storm. Right now, there are other shakeups. The banking is a big deal right now. All the financial systems are in jeopardy right now. And so this is, it's the calm before the storm. And I'm not sure what they're going to do with the vaccines yet. Oops, I said that word. But over time, they're thinking about how they're going to get what they want into your body or punish you. And the doctors right now, they have a code that if you have been unjabbed, they have a code that they put next to your name, like they do for any other disease, whether it be diabetes or sore foot or whatever it is. They have a code that lets the system, their medical system, know that you've been unjabbed. So it's out there. It's out there. The privacy is not so private anymore. So I'm going to ask you to like this video. I'm going to ask you to subscribe. I'm going to ask you to share it. I'm going to ask you to get the word out. If you want to donate. Help me to grow this. Help me to get the word out to people, because my aim, the aim of this channel is to wake the people up who still can be woken up. Remember, there's a large portion who cannot be and will not be, and there's nothing that you can do about it. The only thing you can do is stop it from going any deeper by speaking out. These videos are going to help people to stay motivated, stay engaged, stay inspired. And by you promoting it, backing it, you're going to help a lot of people. So with that in mind, have an excellent day, have an excellent night. Start to make your plan. How are you going to get in better shape physically, mentally, emotionally, financially? And I will see you in the next one.